things that's out there, is the NILs, the name, image, and likeness deals that some of these kids are getting before they even step on a college football field. Before the broadcast, I gave you my perspective, on it. No one's talking to high school football coaches what they think of NILs. They're talking to like I said, the Sabans, the Chris Paul's been a bit quieter about that, but like
Right,
Saban's been very vocal about it.
yeah,
Jimbo Fisher's been very vocal about it, as well. USC has been accused of buying players already.
right,
So one of the things I want to go over is I've always felt that the NCAA has done it to itself. They've had these very strict policies about kids making secondary income aside from their scholarships,
right.
and some of these punishments at times have been ridiculous. Like, I think that the story's foggy, but one of the quarterbacks out of Ohio State, he got his girlfriend, to get on a plane and go see him play, and he got suspended like 6 games.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I forgot who it was. And any listener, out there, feel free to correct me in the comment section or let me know who it is. I'll be glad to re-mention it on the air next broadcast. But stuff like that, they're getting suspended for
Yeah,
stuff like that. So, our governor passed a law, about a year ago where now college athletes could make money for the name, image, and likeness, and other states to follow suit.
right.
Like I said, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it to the extent because I think that, like other kids are able to, in college, even with scholarships, are able to make secondary income.
Right, right,
College football athletes are not, and these universities are getting $100 million television deals because of the fact that because of the backs of these kids.
right.
My biggest concern is, and this is where I straddle the fence a little bit. My biggest concern is I'm not okay with a 17-year-old who has not entered their senior year of high school, or even stepped foot on a college football field, getting a $2 million endorsement from, let's say, for example, a hypothetical would be Cadillac, or getting, which originally Rashada and Jaden Rashada, the recruit out of and John Ruiz, over, one of the top donors at the University of Miami, they both shut that rumor down. Allegedly, he was supposed to get an NIL deal of $9 million if he would have gone to Both guys shut that rumor down. But my biggest concern is that 10, 15 years from now, you're going to get a real arms race between schools like USC, Miami, Alabama, LSU, and you're going to see kids who are 17 years old making $20 million just to go to a school.
Right.
And I think that's very dangerous for a kid that young to have that kind of money. I mean, what do you think as a high school football coach, since you deal with these kids a lot more closely?
Yeah, I think they're, I mean, I think it's a positive that they're getting something because, you can't work when you play, right? And so it's like, yeah, like, yes, high school athletes get a lot just being high school athletes, but then outside of that boundary, right? So it's kind of like, well, I want to take my girlfriend to the movies on Saturday night, but I can't have a job. I might not have money at home. I can't, like, it's like simple things like that might seem like, well, that's not realistic, but it kind of is. I mean? It easily could be. And then, for years and years and years, it was like, well, this guy gets paid on the table, this guy. So, if you want to cut that out, then obviously, like, there has to be a legal way to go about it, right? So I think it's good that there's a legal way that these kids can make money because, like you said, like, colleges make so much off them. But I do think there needs to be, like, rules and regulations and things in place and maybe caps and whatnot in order, because the problem that comes then is, this idea of one, like, almost like buying kids, right? Because then it's like, it kind of tips the scale even more for colleges in a way, because if a college, they can find ways to present all these, NIL deals to all these top recruits, it's, tipping the scale. And then, like you said, like, I still think there needs to be, a sense of limitations and justification for, how much a kid is getting and exactly, what the stipulations are of receiving that money. And like you said, like, a kid in high school who's not even in college getting, millions of dollars. It's a Pandora's box. It's one of those things, like, there's a lot of positives, but there's negatives too. I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm glad I'm not one of the people who makes decisions upon it, because, it's one of those things that I'm still really I still really have a lot of questions about, and I'm not even really fully sure about exactly how I feel, just because of, you know, certain, you know, like, certain, you know, extraordinary circumstances or limitations. And then the other thing that's negative about it, I can tell you, is that, like you said, like especially in the social media time, there's such like a false sense of reality amongst people in general, right? So like kids are even more impressionable. When you go to college, like you're still a kid, you're 18, 19 years old, you're still a kid, right? So then it's like you have kids like entering the transfer portal because they think like, well, I'm not making enough money here, you know, so someone else will pick me up and I'll get like, you know, $20 million. And then you have all these kids just like sitting in the transfer portal with nowhere to go. And so it's, you know, could easily, we hear about like the kids making a ton of money, but they could easily, you know, completely ruin the kids, you know, playing career as well, if they're following kind of the wrong path. Then, and it's easy to say, well, you know, as adults, well, you know, don't, the kid shouldn't think like that. He shouldn't follow that path, but you don't know who's in his ear. And, you know, as a 18-year-old and this someone, you know, whispering about all this money, man, it's hard to really be able to weed through that and see what's accurate and what's not.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, for me, a cap maybe of $100,000, I think is something that I mean, a little less or something like that would be more ideal. You know, that's just my take on it. Maybe 100K. I don't know. The reason why I say that, I know it's high. I'm just
Listen. You give me a coaching cap of 100K, I'll take it right now, man.
Oh, absolutely. You know, no, but I'm just saying like something along those lines, you know, or 60,000, whatever the case may be. The only reason I say that is like I was having a discussion, you know, with a friend of mine, and one of the things we talked, didn't understand how the whole NCAA thing works. I'm like, well, you know, yeah, you know, you get, because I've heard the argument, oh, they get a scholarship, they get room and board, they can eat as much as they want. And that's fine and dandy, but some of these kids, you know, they go home, you know, in the off season. You know, if you're from Ohio, if you're playing at Ohio State, and you live in Miami, some of these kids go back home and their parents are living in poverty, you know. So I think that, you know, an NIL deal of $50,000 could help pay rent for an entire year. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I think having that opportunity for those kids to make money and then benefit their families
Right.
is good for those kids, and it gives them a sense of responsibility as well when it comes to like budgeting and you know where to put your money, investing, you know, which I think could build wealth for the future. But as I also said, I don't want a gluttony of cash going to 17-year-olds. I think that's also not good for the kid either. You know, so that's what I'm saying. A cap of maybe 100K. Maybe I'm being generous. I think it should be less personally, because you're getting. I think Addison over at USC is getting paid like $2 million. You know, and an NIL deal he got over there. And Bryce Young, who's probably going to win the Heisman Trophy this year at Alabama, you know, got a $1 million deal to a car dealership without throwing the football yet against Miami. So those are just things that I'm not very comfortable with. But like I said, a cap of 60K or 100K would be my top dollar. I think it might be the best thing for the kid and the best thing for college football, and it kind of balances things out across conferences and even smaller schools. What do you think? You agree? You disagree? Think it's too high? You know?
Yeah. Honestly, man, like I said, I'm glad I'm not the one making decisions. I'm so kind of torn. I just, you know, I do think there needs to be regulations, need to be some kind of cap. I do think that they should be able to receive, you know, revenue, because they're building so much of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think there should be regulations. You know, obviously, I'm just throwing the cap number out. That's just I have the cap in my mind, but
Right.
yeah, but there has to be some regulation, a governing body made by the NCAA or the NCAA itself, basically throwing his hands up, be like, listen, we're gonna lose this fight. We're losing the conferences because I'm sure you're aware the conferences right now are doing whatever they want. They're merging, or they're merging with each other. Teams are leaving. They're making deals, you know, with networks. So, you know, they've kind of lost control, the NCAA, of the conferences themselves. So I think that's kind of a way for the NCAA to kind of, I guess, regather itself and regain some control by at least setting parameters to how much money players can make and how deals are conducted and so on. They do have something, because John Reese was called to the carpet, you know, for allegedly violating certain rules. I don't even know what the rules are. No one in media knows what the rules are. I don't even think the NCAA knows what the rules are, you
That
know,
sounds
but
about right.
what was that?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, but John Ruiz, being a lawyer, left a paper trail, and he was able to, you know, show the NCAA, listen, I've done everything by the book. You know, this is what the kids are making. This is what my company, blah blah blah. and he was pretty much exonerated. You know, they left him alone after that. You know, so but like I said, you know, there has to be some sort of a governing body. The NCAA has to come up with to make sure that you also don't have an excess of cash being thrown around to kids that, you know, haven't even thrown a football yet, you know, throughout the season. That's just me. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. I know you are absolutely exhausted. All right. But once again, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing with those kids. Very proud of you. Your school's very proud of you. I can guarantee that. All right. As well. And your community's proud of you. Okay. All right, guys. All right, guys. If you like what you heard, please do not forget to download on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. And please, if you're watching on YouTube, do not forget to hit that like or subscribe button. Once again, for 305 Sports Now, I am Will, and my guest, Mr. Coach Joseph Gross of Westland Hialeah Senior High School. Keep kicking butt, sir. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless.
Much appreciated, man. Thank you.
You got it, my friend. See you soon.